A poor girl wished a sterile millionaire a Merry Christmas and gave him an envelope. What he read in the envelope was so shocking that he fainted. Snow fell softly on the streets of London, blanketing the city in white on Christmas Eve. In a small flat in Notting Hill, Lily, a bright-eyed, curly-haired 8-year-old, gazed out the frosted window at the world outside. Her freckled face lit up with a smile, despite the chill that seeped through the cracks of the old window pane. "Mum, can I go out and deliver the envelopes now?" Lily asked, turning to Evelyn, her adoptive mother, who was sewing a patch onto a worn dress. Evelyn, a kind-faced woman in her 40s with tired eyes, looked up from her work. "All right, love, but bundle up warm, it's freezing out there." Lily jumped with joy and ran to grab her patched yet warm coat. As she got ready, her eyes sparkled with anticipation for her Christmas mission. The flat was small and humble, with well-worn but clean furniture. A tiny Christmas tree decorated with handmade ornaments occupied a corner of the room, a silent testament to Evelyn's efforts to provide a cheerful Christmas for her daughter, despite their financial struggles. "Remember, Lily," Evelyn said, helping her daughter tie her scarf, "the true spirit of Christmas is spreading joy and hope." Lily nodded solemnly, clutching a stack of colorful envelopes she had decorated herself. Each one contained a message of hope, written in her childish and yet sincere handwriting. "I know, Mum. That's why I want to deliver these messages. Maybe they can make someone smile today." Evelyn kissed her daughter's forehead, feeling a mixture of pride and concern. "Be back before dark, all right?" With an enthusiastic wave, Lily stepped out into the London streets, her small footprints marking the freshly fallen snow. Meanwhile, across town, in a luxurious penthouse overlooking the London Eye, Arthur Hamilton gazed at the city with empty eyes. At 60, the millionaire had built a business empire, but felt lonelier than ever. Arthur ran a hand through his graying hair, remembering the diagnosis he had received decades ago: sterility. That word had been like a sentence, shattering his dreams of having a family. His marriage hadn't survived, and since then, Arthur had immersed himself in work, building a fortune that now seemed empty and meaningless. Sighing, he decided to take a walk. Perhaps the cold air would clear his troubled mind. Donning an expensive overcoat, Arthur descended to the street, blending into the festive crowd doing their last-minute Christmas shopping. Lily walked the streets, handing out her envelopes to those who seemed to need a smile. A lonely gentleman on a park bench, a worried young mother juggling shopping bags, an elderly couple walking hand in hand, all received an envelope and a warm smile from Lily. The girl was so engrossed in her mission that she didn't notice when she bumped into a tall and well-dressed man. "Oh, I'm sorry, sir," she exclaimed, looking up to meet Arthur's serious face. For a moment, Arthur felt irritated, but something in Lily's sincere gaze and warm smile disarmed him. "It's all right, little one," he replied, his voice softening involuntarily. Lily, noticing the sadness in the man's eyes, had an idea. Taking one of her envelopes, she offered it to Arthur. "Merry Christmas, sir. This is for you." Arthur, surprised, took the envelope hesitantly. "For me? But you don't even know me, child." Lily shrugged, her smile even brighter. "Christmas is for everyone, isn't it? Mum says sometimes the people who seem to have everything need a bit of hope the most." Something in the innocence and wisdom of those words touched Arthur deeply. He looked down at the envelope in his hands, decorated with hand-drawn stars and snowflakes. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick with an emotion he hadn't felt in years. Lily waved cheerfully and continued on her way, leaving Arthur standing on the sidewalk, holding the envelope as if it were a precious treasure. At that moment, neither of them could imagine how that simple gesture would change their lives forever. Arthur tucked the envelope into his pocket, deciding to open it later, in private. He watched Lily walk away, handing out more envelopes, spreading joy like little snowflakes of hope. As night fell over London and the Christmas lights began to twinkle, Arthur returned to his lonely penthouse, and Lily returned to Evelyn's welcoming arms. The mysterious envelope rested in Arthur's pocket, holding secrets that would soon come to light, ready to unleash a series of events that would intertwine the destinies of these three lonely hearts in a tapestry of love, forgiveness, and redemption. Arthur Hamilton entered his penthouse office, leaving behind the festive bustle of London's streets. The contrast between the Christmas spirit outside and the loneliness that enveloped him was stark. He hung up his expensive overcoat and walked to the imposing mahogany desk, his footsteps echoing in the silence of the apartment. Sitting in his leather chair, Arthur took the envelope out of his pocket. His fingers traced the childish drawings of stars and snowflakes, reminding him of little Lily's warm smile. For a moment, he hesitated. There was something about that simple piece of paper that both intrigued and frightened him. "Don't be ridiculous, Arthur," he muttered to himself. "It's just a Christmas card from a child." With a deep sigh, he carefully opened the envelope. Inside, he found a handmade card with a message written in childish script. "Hope is like a star. Even in the darkest nights, it still shines. Merry Christmas." Arthur felt a lump forming in his throat. The simplicity and purity of the message touched him in a way he hadn't expected. But it was what he found behind the card that made his world spin. An old photograph, yellowed with age, slipped out of the envelope. With trembling hands, Arthur picked it up, and the moment his eyes landed on the image, he felt as if the air had been sucked out of his lungs. In the photo, a young woman smiled radiantly, holding a baby in her arms. Her golden hair framed a face Arthur knew all too well, Eleanor, his childhood sweetheart, the woman he hadn't seen in over 3 decades, but whose face still haunted his dreams. "Eleanor," he whispered, his voice barely audible. Memories flooded his mind like an uncontrollable torrent. Flashback Arthur, at 25, walked hand in hand with Eleanor through Hyde Park. The summer sun bathed the park in a golden light, reflecting off Eleanor's hair like a halo. "Arthur, have you ever thought about having children?" Eleanor asked, her blue eyes sparkling with anticipation. Arthur laughed, pulling her close. "With you, every day." "I picture a little girl with your eyes and my charming smile." Eleanor playfully slapped his arm, always so conceited. "But seriously, Arthur, I want a big family. 4, maybe 5 children." "5?" Arthur feigned horror. "My love, let's start with 1 and see how we do, shall we?" They laughed together, young and in love, the future seeming like a bright promise before them. End of flashback. Arthur returned to the present, unshed tears burning in his eyes. That dream of a family with Eleanor had been brutally crushed just a few months after that conversation in the park. Flashback. The doctor's office was cold and impersonal. Arthur held Eleanor's hand as the doctor looked at the test results with a grave expression. "I'm sorry, Mr. Hamilton, but the tests are conclusive. You are sterile. The chances of you having children are practically 0. The words fell upon them like a sentence. Arthur felt Eleanor squeeze his hand, but he could barely feel the touch. All he could hear was the echo of that terrible word, sterile. End of flashback. Arthur shook his head, trying to dispel the painful memories. His eyes returned to the photograph in his trembling hands, the baby in Eleanor's arm. Could it be? No, it was impossible. The doctor had been clear. He was sterile. He couldn't have children. But what if? The doubt began to gnaw at his mind. Arthur turned the photo over, desperately searching for a clue, an explanation. On the back, he found an inscription faded by time. Eleanor and Lily, 3 months. Lily. The name of the little girl who had given him the envelope. The girl with the warm smile and bright eyes. Could it be just a coincidence? Arthur's head spun. The implications of what he was seeing were almost too much to process. If this Lily in the photo was the same girl he had met on the street, it meant Eleanor had had a daughter who could be his. But how? Why had Eleanor never told him? Why had she disappeared from his life so abruptly after the diagnosis? The questions piled up in his mind, each one more painful than the last. Arthur stood up abruptly, stumbling towards the window. The panoramic view of London, usually so comforting, now seemed to spin before his eyes. He pressed his forehead against the cold glass, trying to anchor himself to reality. It can't be, he murmured to himself. It can't be true. But the photo in his hand told a different story, a story of secrets, of lost possibilities, of a life that could have been completely different. Arthur felt a sharp pain in his chest. His vision began to blur around the edges. He tried to reach his desk, seeking support, but his legs gave way. The last thought that crossed his mind before he fell unconscious was Lily's smiling face. Not the baby in the photo, but the girl on the street. The girl who could be his daughter. The sound of the photograph hitting the floor echoed in the empty apartment as Arthur collapsed, overwhelmed by the discovery he had just made. The image of Eleanor and the baby lay face up, their smiles frozen in time, seeming to mock Arthur's years of loneliness and regret. Outside, the Christmas lights of London continued to twinkle, oblivious to the drama unfolding in the luxurious penthouse. A simple envelope, delivered by an innocent child, had set in motion a chain of events that would forever change the life of Arthur Hamilton and everyone around him. As Arthur lay unconscious in his office, fate was already beginning to weave the threads that would soon connect past and present, secrets and truths, into a complex tapestry of redemption and love. The monotonous beep of medical equipment was the first thing Arthur Hamilton registered as he regained consciousness. His eyes fluttered open, slowly adjusting to the fluorescent light of the hospital room. For a moment, he was disoriented, unable to recall how he had gotten there. "Mr. Hamilton," a gentle voice called out. "I'm glad you're awake. I'm Dr. Morgan." "You fainted in your apartment." Arthur blinked, the memories flooding back in a confusing rush. The envelope, the photo, Eleanor, Lily. "The photo," he murmured, trying to sit up. "Where's the photo?" The doctor soothed him gently. "All your belongings are safe. Your assistant brought them to the hospital. Now, I need you to remain calm." "We had to run some tests." But Arthur barely heard her. His mind was immersed in the past, reliving the day that changed the course of his life. Flashback. Dr. Thompson's office was austere, the white walls decorated only with framed diplomas. Arthur held Eleanor's hand tightly as the doctor reviewed the test results. "Mr. Hamilton, Miss Davies, Dr. Thompson began, his tone grave. "We've run a complete battery of tests, and the results are conclusive. Mr. Hamilton, I regret to inform you that you are sterile. The chances of conceiving naturally are virtually non-existent." Arthur felt as if the floor had disappeared beneath his feet. He looked at Eleanor, seeing tears welling up in her blue eyes. "But there must be some mistake," Arthur stammered. "We wanted a family. There must be something we can do." The doctor shook his head sadly. "There are treatments, of course, but with your specific condition, the chances of success are extremely low. I'm sorry." That night, lying in the bed they used to share with so much joy, Arthur and Eleanor lay in silence, a chasm growing between them. "Eleanor," Arthur finally spoke, his voice thick with emotion. "I'll understand if you want, if you need." Eleanor turned to him, silent tears streaming down her face. "Arthur, I love you. We'll get through this together." But the weeks that followed proved to be more difficult than they had imagined. The dream of a family seemed increasingly distant, and the tension between them grew with each passing day. End of flashback. "Mr. Hamilton?" Dr. Morgan's voice brought him back to the present. "Are you all right?" Arthur nodded slowly. "Yes, just remembering." The doctor observed him with concern. "Mr. Hamilton, we ran some routine tests, and there's something we need to discuss. Your hormone levels." But Arthur interrupted her. "Doctor, I appreciate your concern, but there's something I need to do. It's urgent. Can I use my phone?" Reluctantly, the doctor nodded, handing him the device. With trembling fingers, Arthur dialed his personal assistant's number. "Victoria, I need you to do something for me. It's of utmost importance." Over the next few minutes, Arthur instructed Victoria to initiate a discreet investigation into Eleanor Davies and any information related to a child named Lily. He also asked her to find out the origin of the envelope delivered the previous night. Meanwhile, across town, Evelyn received an unexpected phone call. "Hello," she answered, balancing the phone while preparing Lily's breakfast. "Good morning. Is this Mrs. Evelyn Baker?" a formal voice inquired. "Yes, speaking." "Madam, I'm calling from St. Thomas Hospital. Last night, a Mr. Arthur Hamilton was admitted after fainting. Among his belongings, We found an envelope with your address." Evelyn felt her blood run cold. She glanced at Lily, who was cheerfully eating her toast, oblivious to her mother's sudden tension. Is he all right?" Evelyn asked, trying to keep her voice calm. "Yes, madam. He's stable and should be discharged soon. We felt we should inform you, as the envelope appeared to be a Christmas gift from your daughter." Evelyn thanked the caller mechanically and hung up the phone, her mind a whirlwind of worry. How had Lily's envelope ended up in Arthur Hamilton's possession? What could it mean? "Mum," Lily's voice pulled her from her thoughts. "Is everything okay? You seem worried." Evelyn forced a smile. "Everything's fine, love. Just a work call." She hesitated for a moment before asking, "Lily, darling, do you remember who you gave your envelopes to yesterday?" Lily frowned, thoughtful. Lots of people, but I remember one special gentleman. He seemed so sad, Mum. So I hope my card made him smile." Evelyn felt a knot in her stomach. She knew she needed to protect Lily, but she also felt the weight of the secrets she had carried for so many years. Back at the hospital, Arthur was determined to unravel the mystery that the envelope had brought to light. As he awaited news from Victoria, his mind drifted between the present and the past. Flashback. "Arthur, I can't do this anymore." Eleanor's voice was heavy with pain. "We're destroying ourselves." It was a rainy night, 6 months after the diagnosis. The apartment that was once filled with love now felt suffocating. "Eleanor, please," Arthur begged. "We can try adoption or—" She shook her head, tears flowing freely. "It's not just that, Arthur. It's like we've lost something we never even had. I need time. I need to find myself again." That night, Eleanor left, taking with her Arthur's dreams and hopes. End of flashback. The sound of a message notification on his phone brought Arthur back to reality. It was Victoria. "Sir, I have some initial information. Eleanor Davies left London 30 years ago. Last known address in Brighton. Still searching for information on Lily. The envelope was delivered by a girl living in Notting Hill. Will continue investigating." Arthur reread the message several times, his heart pounding. Brighton, it was a start. And the girl in Notting Hill. Could it be the same Lily? Determined, Arthur got out of the hospital bed, ignoring the protests of the nurse entering the room. "I need to get out of here," he declared. "There's something I need to resolve." As Arthur prepared to leave the hospital against medical advice, Evelyn hugged Lily tightly, as if trying to protect her from an invisible danger. Fate had set in motion a series of events that would soon intertwine the lives of Arthur, Evelyn, and Lily in ways none of them could imagine. Secrets buried for decades were about to surface, bringing with them the promise of redemption, but also the risk of heartbreak. Arthur Hamilton adjusted his tie, observing his reflection in the office mirror. Despite his doctor's protests, he had returned to work just 2 days after the incident at the hospital. His mind was focused on a single mission: to discover the truth about Eleanor and Lily. A soft knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," Arthur called, turning to see his assistant, Victoria, enter the room. "Mr. Hamilton, Detective Inspector Davies, has arrived for the meeting," she informed him. Arthur nodded. "Excellent. Send him in, please." Moments later, a middle-aged man with graying hair and sharp eyes entered the office. David Davies was known for his discretion and efficiency, exactly what Arthur needed in this delicate situation. "Mr. Hamilton," Davies greeted, shaking Arthur's hand firmly. "Your assistant mentioned this is a personal and urgent matter." Arthur gestured towards a chair for Davies and sat down behind his imposing desk. "Indeed, Inspector. I need you to investigate the whereabouts of a woman named Eleanor Davies. She left London approximately 30 years ago." Davies pulled a small notebook from his pocket, ready to take notes. "Any additional information you can provide?" Arthur hesitated for a moment, weighing how much he should reveal. "Her last known address was in Brighton, and there's a possibility she may have had a daughter named Lily." The detective raised an eyebrow, but maintained his professional demeanor. "I see. May I ask the nature of your interest in this investigation, Mr. Hamilton?" Arthur stood up, walking towards the window that offered a panoramic view of London. "It's complicated," Inspector, let's just say Eleanor was someone very important in my past, and recent information has come to light suggesting there may be more to our story than I knew. Davies nodded, understanding the delicacy of the situation. I'll do my best to obtain the information you seek with the utmost discretion. While Arthur and Davies discussed the details of the investigation across town, Lily continued her Christmas mission with unwavering enthusiasm. Evelyn watched her adopted daughter with a mixture of love and apprehension. Since the call from the hospital about Arthur Hamilton, she couldn't shake the feeling that the past she had tried so hard to leave behind was about to catch up with her. "Mum, can I take more envelopes to the square today?" Lily asked, her eyes shining with anticipation. Evelyn hesitated. Part of her wanted to keep Lily at home, safe from the world and the secrets that threatened to surface, but her daughter's innocent smile made her relent. "Of course, love, but don't go too far, all right?" Lily nodded enthusiastically, running to grab her colorful envelopes. Evelyn watched her go, a knot of worry tightening in her chest. That night, as Lily slept peacefully, Evelyn rummaged through an old box hidden in the back of her closet. With trembling hands, she pulled out a faded photograph. She and Eleanor, smiling, arm in front of Buckingham Palace. "Oh, Eleanor," Evelyn whispered, silent tears streaming down her face. "What am I supposed to do?" Days turned into a week. Arthur could barely concentrate on his work, anxious for news from Davies. Every time his phone rang, his heart would race, hoping it was the detective with information about Eleanor. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Davies requested an urgent meeting. Arthur received him in his office, barely concealing his anxiety. "Shine, what have you found, Inspector?" Davies opened his file, his expression grave. "Mr. Hamilton, I have information on Eleanor Davies, but I'm afraid it's not the news you were hoping for." Arthur felt his heart clench. "Go on, please." "Eleanor Davies passed away 8 years ago in Brighton," Davies informed him gently. "Faji, she was involved in a car accident." Arthur closed his eyes, feeling as if he had been punched in the stomach. Even after so many years apart, the news of Eleanor's death hit him hard. And Lily?" Arthur asked, his voice trembling. Davies consulted his notes. "This is where things get interesting, Mr. Hamilton. I discovered records that Eleanor gave a child up for adoption shortly after leaving London, 30 years ago. A girl." Arthur leaned forward, his mind racing with the implications. "Are you certain?" Davies nodded. "Absolutely. Adoption records are confidential. But I was able to confirm the child was adopted by a single woman in London. The child's name was Lily." Arthur stood up abruptly, pacing back and forth across the office. That means Lily, the girl with the envelope. She could be your daughter," Davies finished softly. "Based on the information I have, it's a very real possibility, Mr. Hamilton." Arthur leaned against his desk, feeling overwhelmed. His entire life, he had believed he was incapable of having children. And now, suddenly, the possibility that he had a 30-year-old daughter was almost too much to process. "There's one more thing," Davies added hesitantly. "The woman who adopted Lily, her name is Evelyn Baker. She lives in Notting Hill, at the same address that was on the envelope you received." Arthur looked at Davies, renewed determination in his eyes. "I need to find them. I need to know the truth." Meanwhile, in her small flat in Notting Hill, Evelyn felt a growing unease. Lily had mentioned the sad gentleman she'd given the envelope to again, and Evelyn feared it was only a matter of time before the past caught up with them. That night, after putting Lily to bed, Evelyn made a painful decision. She began packing their bags, determined to protect her adopted daughter from the approaching storm, even if it meant leaving behind the life they had built in London. Fate, however, had other plans. As Evelyn planned her escape, and Arthur prepared to confront the truth, Lily slept soundly, dreaming of snow angels and magical envelopes, completely unaware of how her innocent actions had unleashed a chain of events that would forever change the lives of everyone around her. The truth, buried for so long, was about to come to light, promising redemption for some and challenges for others. The next chapter in the lives of Arthur, Evelyn and Lily, was about to begin, bringing with it the promise of shocking revelations and intense emotions. A grey London morning seemed to mirror the turmoil of emotions Arthur Hamilton was experiencing as his car wound through the narrow streets of Notting Hill. Beside him, David Davies reviewed the information they had gathered on Evelyn Baker and Lily. "Are you sure you want to do this now, Mr. Hamilton?" Davies asked, noting the evident tension in Arthur's face. Arthur nodded firmly. "I need to know the truth, David. I've waited long enough." The car stopped in front of an old but well-maintained building. Arthur took a deep breath, gathering his courage, and stepped out of the vehicle. "Wait here," he instructed Davies before entering the building. Meanwhile, in the small flat on the third floor, Evelyn was finishing packing a suitcase, her heart heavy with the decision to leave. Lily, sitting at the kitchen table, played absent-mindedly with her breakfast. "Mum, why are we packing? Are we going on a trip?" Lily asked, her voice full of innocent curiosity. Evelyn forced a smile, trying to remain calm. "Yes, love. We're going on a little adventure." Before Lily could ask any more questions, the doorbell rang, causing Evelyn to freeze. She wasn't expecting visitors, and a sense of dread settled in her stomach. "Stay here, Lily," Evelyn said softly, heading towards the door. When Evelyn opened the door, her face paled. Standing before her was Arthur Hamilton, the man she had hoped never to see again. "Evelyn Baker?" Arthur asked, although he already knew the answer. Evelyn nodded silently, unable to speak. "We need to talk," Arthur said, his voice firm but gentle. "About Eleanor and Lily." The sound of small footsteps interrupted the tense moment. "Mum, who is it?" Lily appeared behind Evelyn, her curious eyes fixed on the stranger at the door. Arthur felt his heart skip a beat. There she was, the girl with the envelope, the possible daughter he never knew he had. Her eyes, so much like Eleanor's, stared back at him with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Evelyn, noticing the intensity of Arthur's gaze, quickly stepped between them. "Lily, darling, why don't you go play in your room for a moment? Mummy needs to talk to this gentleman." Reluctantly, Lily obeyed, casting one last curious glance at Arthur before disappearing down the hallway. Evelyn turned to Arthur, her posture defensive. "Come in," she finally said, her voice barely masking the tremor of fear. Once inside the small flat, the contrast between Arthur's luxurious life and the simplicity of Evelyn and Lily's home was stark. Arthur observed the photos on the wall, the children's drawings on the refrigerator, the signs of a modest but loving life. "Why are you here, Arthur?" Evelyn asked, breaking the tense silence. Arthur took the photo of Eleanor and the baby from his coat pocket. "Because of this," he said, holding out the image to Evelyn, "and because I believe Lily might be my daughter." Evelyn paled further, her hands trembling as she took the photograph. Where did you get this?" "Lily gave me a Christmas envelope," Arthur explained. "This photo was inside." "Evelyn, I need to know the truth. Did she have my child?" Evelyn sank heavily into a chair, tears starting to well up in her eyes. "Arthur, it's complicated." "Then explain it to me," Arthur insisted, sitting opposite her. "Please, Evelyn. I've spent 30 years believing I couldn't have children. If Lily is my daughter, I have a right to know." In the next room, Lily pressed her ear against the wall, snippets of the conversation reaching her. Words like daughter, Eleanor, and truth piqued her curiosity. Who was this man? And why did her mother seem so scared? Meanwhile, outside the building, Davies was making his own discoveries. A quick conversation with an elderly neighbor revealed that Evelyn and Eleanor had been close friends years ago. "They were inseparable," the old man commented, until one day Eleanor left. Evelyn was devastated. But then, a few months later, she came back with a baby. Lily. Back in the flat, Evelyn finally began to speak, her voice choked with sobs. "Eleanor found out she was pregnant shortly after you two separated. She was scared, Arthur. Scared that you wouldn't believe her. Scared of raising a child alone." Arthur felt a wave of guilt and regret wash over him. "I would have believed her. I would have stood by her." Evelyn shook her head sadly. She didn't know that at the time. Eleanor decided to give the baby up for adoption, to give the child a chance at a complete family, but at the last minute, she couldn't. That's when she came to me. And you adopted Lily, Arthur concluded, the pieces of the puzzle finally falling into place. Evelyn nodded. For Eleanor made me promise I would raise Lily as my own, that I would protect her. Even from you, Arthur. The tension in the air was palpable. Arthur struggled to process everything he was hearing, while Evelyn feared the consequences of her revelations. In her room, Lily felt her world crumbling. Adopted. Could the man in the living room be her father? Her head spun with unanswered questions. Why didn't Eleanor tell me? Arthur asked, his voice heavy with emotion. Why didn't she ever come back? Evelyn hesitated. She tried, Arthur, a few years later, but when she arrived in London, she saw you with your new wife. She thought you had moved on, that it would be better to leave things as they were. Arthur closed his eyes, remembering his failed marriage, a desperate attempt to get over Eleanor. I never forgot her, Evelyn. I never stopped loving her. The sound of a muffled sob caught their attention. Turning, they saw Lily standing in the doorway, tears streaming down her face. Lily? Evelyn exclaimed, getting up quickly. But Lily recoiled. You lied to me, she said, her voice trembling. Both of you lied. Before Evelyn or Arthur could react, Lily ran out of the flat, racing down the stairs. Lily! Arthur and Evelyn shouted in unison, rushing after her. As they descended the stairs, Davies entered the building, alarmed by the commotion. What's going on? He asked, seeing Arthur and Evelyn rush past him. Lily ran away. Arthur responded quickly. We have to find her. The three of them spilled out onto the streets of Notting Hill, hearts pounding, minds racing with worry. The truth, buried for so long, had finally come to light, but at a cost none of them could have foreseen. As they searched frantically for Lily in the bustling streets, Arthur and Evelyn found themselves united by a common purpose: to find and protect the girl who, in different ways, was a daughter to both of them. Fate had intertwined their lives in a way none of them could have imagined, and now, facing the consequences of long-held secrets, they would have to find a way to move forward for Lily. The streets of Notting Hill were bustling that winter afternoon, tourists and locals mingling on the narrow sidewalks. Among the crowd, three figures moved with urgency: Arthur Hamilton, Evelyn Baker, and David Davies, their eyes frantically scanning every face in search of Lily. There! Evelyn cried suddenly, pointing to a small figure huddled on a bench in Portobello Road Market, surrounded by street vendors and their colourful displays. Arthur was the first to reach her, his heart clenching at the sight of tears in the girl's eyes. Lily, he said softly, kneeling before her. It's all right. We were so worried about you. Lily looked at him, then at Evelyn, who had arrived breathlessly. Why did you lie to me? She asked, her voice trembling. Evelyn approached, trying to touch Lily's shoulder, but the girl flinched away. Love, I never wanted to hurt you. We need to talk, all of us. Davies, who had been observing the scene from a respectful distance, stepped forward. Mr. Hamilton, there's a quiet cafe nearby. Perhaps it would be a more suitable place for this conversation. Arthur nodded, grateful for the suggestion. Lily, he said gently, would you come with us? I promise we'll answer all your questions. After a moment of hesitation, Lily silently agreed. The small group made their way to the cafe, the tension palpable between them. Once settled at a secluded table, with mugs of hot chocolate in front of each of them, a heavy silence fell over the group. It was Arthur who finally broke it. Lily, he began, his voice soft but firm, there are things about your past, about your family, that you need to know. And I'm learning a lot of this myself right now. Evelyn took a deep breath, knowing it was time to reveal the truth she had kept hidden for so long. Lily, remember the stories I told you about your mother, about how she was my best friend? Lily nodded slowly, her wide eyes fixed on Evelyn. Well, that's true. Your mother, Eleanor, was my best friend. But there's more. Evelyn hesitated, glancing at Arthur for support. Arthur took the photograph out of his pocket, the same image that had started everything, and placed it gently on the table. This is Eleanor, Lily, your birth mother. Lily picked up the photograph with trembling hands, her eyes tracing the smiling face of the woman holding a baby. But why did I never meet her? Why didn't you ever tell me about her, Mum? Evelyn felt tears welling up in her eyes. Eleanor, she had to leave. Lily, she was going through a difficult time and thought you would have a better life with me. She asked me to take care of you, to love you as my own daughter. And I promised her I would. Arthur, sensing it was time to reveal his part in the story, leaned forward. Lily, there's something else you need to know, something I only recently discovered myself. He paused, gathering his courage. I am your biological father. The silence that followed was deafening. Lily looked from Arthur to Evelyn, her eyes filled with confusion and shock. My father? Evelyn nodded slowly. Yes, Lily. Arthur is your biological father. Eleanor and he, they loved each other very much. But there were complications, misunderstandings. Arthur continued, his voice thick with emotion. I didn't know about you, Lily. I believed I couldn't have children. If I had known... He trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. Lily, still clutching the photograph, looked at Arthur with new eyes, noticing for the first time the subtle resemblances between them. But why did Eleanor leave? Why did she leave me? Evelyn took Lily's hands in hers. Eleanor loved you very much. Love. More than anything in the world. She thought she was doing what was best for you. She wanted you to have a stable family, love, security. Arthur, feeling the need to defend Eleanor, added, sometimes people make mistakes, Lily, mistakes based on fear, on uncertainty. But that doesn't mean they don't love. Lily sat in silence for a long moment, processing everything she had heard. When she finally spoke, her voice was small, almost a whisper. What now? What happens now? Arthur and Evelyn exchanged glances, both realizing they hadn't thought that far ahead. It was Evelyn who answered first. Now, love, we figure it out together. Arthur is your father, and he has a right to be a part of your life if you want that. But I will always be your mum, Lily. Nothing will change that. Arthur nodded in agreement. Evelyn's right, Lily. I'm not here to take you away from her. I'm here because I want to get to know you. I want to be a part of your life if you'll let me. Lily looked at the two adults, her eyes shining with unshed tears. I don't know what to feel. I'm happy to know the truth, but also scared. Everything's changed so fast. Evelyn hugged Lily tenderly. I know, love, change can be scary. But remember, you are loved. By me, by Arthur, and Eleanor loved you very much too. Arthur, hesitantly, reached out to touch Lily's shoulder. We can take it slow, Lily. There's no rush. The important thing is that we know the truth now, and we can build something new together. As the conversation continued, Davies, who had remained discreetly distant, observed the scene with a mixture of admiration and relief. He had witnessed many secrets revealed in his career as a detective, but rarely had he witnessed an outcome so full of potential for healing and reconciliation. As the afternoon wore on, the three of them, Arthur, Evelyn, and Lily, began to carefully explore the contours of their new reality. There was still much to discuss, many emotions to process, but the first step had been taken. When they finally left the cafe, the sun was beginning to set over London, casting a golden glow on the streets of Notting Hill. Lily walked between Arthur and Evelyn, holding each of their hands. It was a small gesture, but one laden with meaning, a symbol of acceptance, of new beginnings. Arthur glanced at Evelyn over Lily's head, a silent understanding passing between them. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but they would walk it together, for Lily. As they walked up the hill back towards the flat, Lily asked a question that caught both adults by surprise. Can I see where Eleanor is buried someday? Arthur and Evelyn exchanged surprised glances, but it was Arthur who answered, Of course, Lily. When you're ready, we'll go together. Evelyn added softly, and we can take flowers. Eleanor loved daffodils. Lily nodded, a small smile forming on her lips. I'd like that. In that moment, as the trio climbed the narrow stairs of the old building, there was a palpable sense that, although the past couldn't be changed, The future was full of possibilities. The truth, however painful it had initially been, had paved the way for healing, for forgiveness, and perhaps most importantly, for love in all its complex and beautiful forms. Night fell over London, shrouding the city in soft shadows. But in the small flat in Notting Hill, a light of hope shone brightly. The promise of a newfound family, united not just by blood, but by the courage to face the truth and the desire to build something new and beautiful from the fragments of the past. Night was falling over London, bringing with it an unexpected snowstorm. In the small Notting Hill flat, the silence following the revelations was deafening. Lily, her eyes brimming with tears, looked from Arthur to Evelyn, the reality of her newly discovered origins weighing heavily on her small shoulders. I need to be alone," Lily whispered, her voice trembling. Before Arthur or Evelyn could react, the girl ran to her room, slamming the door shut with a bang that echoed through the flat. Evelyn made a move to follow her, but Arthur gently stopped her. "Maybe she needs some time," he said softly. Evelyn nodded reluctantly. "You're right. It's a lot for her to process." The minutes dragged by as Arthur and Evelyn waited in the living room, the silence broken only by the ticking of the clock on the wall. The tension was palpable, years of secrets and regrets hanging heavy in the air between them. Suddenly, the sound of a window opening startled them both. Exchanging alarmed glances, they rushed to Lily's room, only to find it empty, the window wide open, letting in swirling snowflakes. "Oh God, she's run away!" Evelyn exclaimed, panic evident in her voice. Arthur was already in action, grabbing his coat. "Come on, we have to find her. And it's snowing out there." Momentarily forgetting their differences, Arthur and Evelyn hurried out of the flat, down the stairs, and out into the cold London night. The snow was falling harder now, making visibility difficult. "You go that way, I'll go this way," Arthur instructed, pointing in opposite directions. "Call me if you find her." Evelyn nodded, her fear for Lily overriding any resentment she might have felt towards Arthur. They separated, their voices echoing through the streets of Notting Hill, calling Lily's name. As he searched, Arthur's mind wandered back to the past, remembering Eleanor and the love they had shared. Flashback. Arthur and Eleanor strolled hand in hand through Hyde Park, the spring sunshine warming their faces. Eleanor stopped suddenly, turning to Arthur with a serious look. "Arthur, if we had a child, what name would you choose?" Arthur chuckled, pulling her close. How about Lily?" "Oh, I've always liked that name." Eleanor smiled, her eyes shining in a way Arthur hadn't understood at the time. "Lily. It's perfect." End of flashback. Arthur shook his head, snapping back to the present. Now he understood the significance of that moment, the secret Eleanor had been carrying. Across the neighborhood, Evelyn searched every alley and square, her heart heavy with worry. She, too, found herself lost in memories. Flashback. Eleanor sat on Evelyn's bed, her hands trembling as she held a positive pregnancy test. "What am I going to do, Evelyn? Arthur thinks he can't have children. What if he doesn't believe me? What if he thinks I've betrayed him?" Evelyn hugged her friend tightly. "It's going to be all right, Eleanor. We'll figure this out together." Eleanor sobbed into Evelyn's shoulder. "I love him so much, Evelyn, but I'm so scared." End of flashback. A tear rolled down Evelyn's cheek, quickly freezing in the biting cold. She had promised Eleanor she would protect Lily, and now she felt she had failed. The snowstorm intensified, transforming the London streets into a white labyrinth. Arthur and Evelyn, separated by distance but united by worry, continued their frantic search. Arthur paused for a moment, breathless, his eyes scanning the snow-covered square. That's when he saw them, small footprints, almost obscured by the fresh snow leading towards a nearby church. Heart pounding, Arthur ran towards the church, pushing open the heavy wooden door. The interior was dark and quiet, illuminated only by a few flickering candles. "Lily?" he called softly, his voice echoing off the stone walls. A muffled sob caught his attention. Behind the last pew, huddled and shivering, was Lily. Arthur approached slowly, kneeling beside her. "Lily, my darling, it's all right. We're here for you." Lily looked at him, her eyes red and swollen from crying. "Why does everything have to change?" I was happy the way things were. Arthur felt his heart clench. Sometimes the truth can be scary, Lily. But it doesn't change the love we have for you. Evelyn loves you like a true mother, and I want the chance to love you as a father. At that moment, the church door opened again, and Evelyn entered, breathless and covered in snow. Seeing Lily, she rushed forward, enveloping the girl in a tight hug. "Oh, love, don't ever do that again." "I was so worried." Lily clung to Evelyn, sobbing. "I'm sorry, Mum, I was confused and scared." Arthur watched the scene, feeling simultaneously a part of it and an intruder. Evelyn glanced at him over Lily's head, a look of gratitude and understanding passing between them. "Let's go home," Evelyn said softly. "It's cold here and we can talk better there?" Lily nodded, still clinging to Evelyn, but extended a hesitant hand towards Arthur. He took it gently, feeling the weight of responsibility and the love that was already growing in his heart. Together, the three of them left the church, facing the storm that still raged outside. But now, somehow, the cold seemed less intense. Walking hand in hand, Arthur, Evelyn, and Lily formed an unusual but powerful image. A newly formed family, united not just by blood, but by the courage to face the truth and the desire to build something new. As they climbed the hill back to the flat in Notting Hill, the snow began to subside. The lights of London twinkled through the white curtain, like a symbol of hope for the uncertain but promising future that awaited them. The snow fell relentlessly upon London, transforming the city into a winter wonderland. While Arthur and Evelyn frantically searched for Lily, the little girl wandered the streets, lost in her turbulent thoughts and emotions. Lily shivered in the cold, her footsteps hesitant in the deep snow. Christmas lights twinkled around her, but she barely noticed them, absorbed in her confusion and pain. Then, a kind voice broke through her thoughts. "Hello, little one. Are you lost?" Lily looked up and saw a middle-aged man with kind eyes and a warm smile. He wore a red Santa hat and carried a basket filled with gifts. I don't know," Lily replied, her voice trembling. The man, who introduced himself as Thomas, noticed the girl's distraught state and the cold that gripped her. "Come with me," he said gently. "There's a Christmas shelter nearby. We can get you warmed up and maybe find your parents." Hesitant, but with few other options, Lily agreed to follow Thomas. They walked for a few minutes until they reached an old church, its doors open, warm light spilling out from within. Inside the church, dozens of people gathered, some serving hot food, others distributing blankets and gifts. It was a makeshift shelter for those with nowhere else to go on Christmas Eve. Thomas led Lily to a bench near a heater and handed her a mug of hot chocolate. "Now, little one, do you want to tell me what happened?" Meanwhile, across town, Arthur walked through the snowy streets, his heart heavy with worry and regret. The search for Lily had forced him to reflect on his life choices, on how his bitterness had blinded him to the things that truly mattered. Pausing for a moment to catch his breath, Arthur looked up at the night sky, the snowflakes dancing under the streetlights. "Eleanor," he whispered, "forgive me for being so blind. Please, help me find our daughter." Not far away, Evelyn searched every alley and square, desperately calling Lily's name. Guilt consumed her, knowing that her secret had caused so much pain to the girl she had sworn to protect. "I should have told her the truth sooner," Evelyn murmured to herself, tears freezing on her cheeks. "Bay Lily, my love, where are you?" Back at the shelter, Lily, encouraged by Thomas's kindness, began to pour out her heart. She told him about the revelation of her origins, about how betrayed and confused she felt. Thomas listened attentively, offering words of comfort. "Joyce, you know, Lily," he said after the girl finished her story, "sometimes people make mistakes, even when they're trying to do the right thing. What matters is the love they have for you." Lily reflected on these words, feeling some of the weight in her heart begin to lift. "But what if they don't love me anymore now that the truth is out?" Thomas smiled gently. "True love, Lily, doesn't disappear because of the truth. In fact, it's strengthened by honesty." As they talked, the church door opened, letting in a gust of cold wind and two familiar, distraught faces. "Lily!" Arthur and Evelyn exclaimed in unison, rushing towards the girl. Lily stood up, a mixture of relief and apprehension on her face. Evelyn was the first to reach her, pulling her into a tight embrace. "Oh, love, we were so worried. Don't ever do that again, please." Arthur approached cautiously, his eyes filled with emotion. "Lily, we're so glad to find you safe and sound." Thomas watched the scene with a smile, realizing it was time to give the family some privacy. He discreetly stepped away, but not before Lily gave him a grateful look. The family sat down on a nearby bench, the initial silence heavy with unspoken emotions. It was Lily who finally broke the silence. "I'm sorry for running away," she said quietly. "I was just scared and confused." Evelyn stroked Lily's hair. "No, love, we're the ones who are sorry. We should have been honest with you from the start." Arthur nodded, adding in a choked voice, "Lily, I know this is all new and frightening for you. It's new for me, too. But I want you to know that even though I haven't been there before, I'm here now. And I want to be a part of your life, if you'll let me." Lily looked at Arthur, then at Evelyn, her eyes filled with unshed tears. I don't know how to feel. You're my father. But Evelyn is my mum. And Eleanor." Evelyn took Lily's hands in hers. "Eleanor loved you very much, Lily. She did what she thought was best for you. And I promised her I would love you as my own daughter. And that's what you are to me, no matter what." Arthur added softly, "And now that I know about you, Lily, I want to do everything I can to be the father you deserve. Not to replace Evelyn or the memory of Eleanor, but to add more love to your life." Lily was silent for a moment, processing everything. Then, to everyone's surprise, she extended one hand to Arthur and the other to Evelyn. Can we try to be a family? All of us." The relief and joy on Arthur and Evelyn's faces were palpable. They leaned in, forming a group hug that seemed to seal a new promise, a new beginning. Thomas, watching from afar, smiled to himself. The Christmas spirit, he thought, had many ways of manifesting itself, and this reconciliation was surely one of the best gifts this family could receive. As the snow continued to fall outside, inside the Christmas shelter, a newly formed family took its first tentative steps together. There was still much to discuss, many emotions to process, but in that moment, enveloped by the warmth of love and mutual understanding, Arthur, Evelyn, and Lily felt that together they could face any challenge the future might hold. The Christmas shelter in the old church had become a refuge not just from the cold outside, but also from the emotional storms that had raged within Arthur, Evelyn, and Lily over the past few hours. The trio sat in a quiet corner, mugs of hot chocolate warming their hands, the warmth of the drinks contrasting with the chill of the truths that still needed to be shared. Thomas, the kind stranger who had found Lily, remained nearby, offering a comforting presence and occasionally bringing more blankets or hot drinks. Arthur was the first to break the silence, his voice low and thick with emotion. "Lily, there's so much I want to tell you, so much I want to understand. But first, I need you to know how deeply sorry I am for not being there for you all these years." Lily looked at him, her large eyes curious. "But you didn't know about me, did you?" Arthur nodded sadly. "No, I didn't, and that breaks my heart. If I had known..." Evelyn interjected softly. "Arthur, perhaps it's best if we start from the beginning. Lily deserves to know the whole story." So, with Evelyn occasionally filling in the gaps, Arthur began to narrate the story of his relationship with Eleanor. He spoke of how they fell in love, their dreams of starting a family, and the devastating diagnosis that tore them apart. "The doctor told me I was sterile, that I couldn't have children," Arthur explained, his voice trembling. "It was a terrible blow to both of us. I pushed Eleanor away, thinking I was doing the best thing for her. I thought she deserved someone who could give her the family she so desperately wanted." Lily listened intently, her eyes moving between Arthur and Evelyn. "But then how..." Evelyn picked up the thread, her voice soft but firm. "Eleanor found out she was pregnant shortly after you two separated, Arthur. She was scared, confused. She was afraid you wouldn't believe her, that you would think she had been unfaithful." Arthur closed his eyes, the pain evident on his face. "Oh, Eleanor, I would have believed her. I would have stood by her. She wanted to tell you, Evelyn continued, tears glistening in her eyes. But when she finally worked up the courage, you had already moved. No one knew where you were. The realization hit Arthur like a physical blow. His running away, his attempt to protect Eleanor, had resulted in the exact opposite of what he intended. Lily, absorbing all of this, asked quietly, "And that's when she decided to give me up for adoption?" Evelyn shook her head, a sad smile on her lips. "No, love, Eleanor never truly wanted to give you up. She was frightened, yes, but she loved you too much. She came to me, asking for help and advice." Arthur looked at Evelyn with newfound understanding. "So that's how you came into Lily's life?" Evelyn nodded. Eleanor knew she couldn't raise Lily on her own. She had health problems, financial problems. She asked me to take care of Lily, to love her as my own daughter, and I promised her I would. Tears streamed down Lily's face now. "So Eleanor, my birth mother, she loved me?" "Oh, love." Evelyn hugged her tenderly. "She loved you more than anything in the world. Her last wish was for you to be loved and protected." Arthur, visibly moved, hesitantly reached out to Lily. To his relief, she didn't pull away. "Lily, I know I can't make up for the lost years, but if you give me a chance, I would like to be a part of your life now. Not to replace Evelyn, who is your mother in every way that matters, but to add more love to your life." Lily looked at Arthur, then at Evelyn, her eyes filled with emotion. I think I would like that, but I'm scared. What if everything changes?" It was at that moment that Thomas, who had remained discreetly in the background, stepped forward. "May I say something?" he asked gently. When everyone nodded, he continued, "Change isn't always a bad thing, little Lily. Sometimes it brings us more love, more understanding. Your family is growing, not shrinking." Thomas's words seemed to strike a chord with Lily. She looked at the three adults around her, each offering a different kind of love and support. I think we can try," she said finally, a small smile forming on her lips. The relief and joy were palpable. Arthur, unable to contain his emotion, hugged Lily gently. "Thank you, my darling. I promise I'll do my best." Evelyn joined the hug, forming a circle of love around Lily. "We're a family now," she said softly. "Different, perhaps, but united by love." Thomas observed the scene with a satisfied smile. "Well," he said, "it seems the Christmas spirit has worked its magic here tonight." As the newly formed family began to plan their next steps, discussing how they would navigate this new dynamic, Thomas quietly slipped away. His work there was done. Outside, the snow had stopped falling, and the stars shone brightly in the London night sky. Inside the shelter, a family began its journey of healing and reconciliation, facing the future with courage, love, and the promise of a new beginning. Christmas night, which had begun with heartbreak and painful secrets, ended with the hope of a brighter future. Arthur, Evelyn, and Lily knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but they were determined to travel it together, united by the love they shared and the memory of Eleanor, whose courageous decision had finally brought them all the chance of a true family. The days following the night at the Christmas shelter were a whirlwind of emotions for Arthur, Evelyn, and Lily. The newly formed family was striving to find a new equilibrium, with Lily at the center of their attention and care. One sunny winter afternoon, they decided to have a picnic in Hyde Park. The park was quiet, with only a few brave tourists braving the cold. Arthur spread a blanket on the snow, while Evelyn unpacked the sandwiches and hot chocolate they had brought. Lily, her face flushed from the cold, ran between the snow-covered statues laughing. It was a sound that warmed Arthur and Evelyn's hearts, a reminder of the innocence they were both determined to protect. "She seems happier," Arthur commented, watching Lily with a smile. Evelyn nodded, her eyes following the girl. "Yes, she's adjusting well. There are still moments of confusion, but I think we're on the right track." As they enjoyed their impromptu picnic, a familiar figure approached. It was Thomas, the kind man from the Christmas shelter, walking his dog. "What a pleasant surprise," Thomas exclaimed, stopping to greet them. "It's good to see you three together." They invited Thomas to join them, grateful for the comforting presence of the man who had played such a crucial role in their reconciliation. As they chatted, Thomas pulled out his phone to show them some photos from the Christmas shelter. That's when something unexpected happened. While scrolling through a digitized old photo, Thomas stopped abruptly, his eyes widening in recognition. "Evelyn," he asked, surprise evident in his voice. "Is that you in this picture?" Evelyn leaned in to look, and her face paled visibly. In the photo, 3 smiling young people posed in front of Buckingham Palace: Eleanor, Arthur, and Evelyn. Arthur looked at the photo, confused. "Evelyn, I don't remember this picture, or you being there." Evelyn looked as if she had seen a ghost, her hands trembling slightly. Lily, sensing the sudden tension, approached curiously. "Mum, what is it?" Thomas, realizing he had stumbled upon something sensitive, tried to change the subject, but the damage was done. Arthur was looking at Evelyn with a mixture of confusion and suspicion. "Evelyn," Arthur said slowly, "is there something you haven't told us?" Evelyn closed her eyes for a moment, as if gathering her courage. When she opened them again, there was a sad determination in her gaze. "Yes," she said softly, "there's a lot I haven't told you. Perhaps it's time for the whole truth." Lily sat down beside Evelyn, taking her hand in silent support. Arthur leaned forward, his expression a mixture of apprehension and curiosity. Evelyn took a deep breath and began, "Arthur, do you remember when you met Eleanor at university? Well, I was there too. In fact, the 3 of us were friends." Arthur frowned, trying to remember. "I don't recall you." "Not surprising," Evelyn continued, a sad smile playing on her lips. "I was quiet, shy, and completely in love with you, Arthur." The revelation landed like a bombshell. Arthur's jaw dropped, and he was unable to speak. Lily looked from one to the other, her eyes wide. Evelyn continued, her voice trembling but resolute. "I never said anything, and of course, how could I? You and Eleanor were perfect together. I contented myself with being friends with both of you, hiding my feelings. When you and Eleanor separated after the infertility diagnosis, I was devastated for both of you. And then Eleanor came to me, pregnant and scared." Arthur interjected, his voice hoarse with emotion. "You knew all along. Why didn't you tell me?" Evelyn shook her head, tears welling up in her eyes. "Eleanor made me promise. She was convinced you wouldn't believe her, that you would think she had been unfaithful. And I saw a chance." "A chance?" Lily asked, her voice small and confused. Evelyn hugged Lily tenderly. "A chance to have a family love, to care for the child of the man I loved, even if he never knew. It was selfish, I know, but when Eleanor asked me to take care of you, I couldn't refuse." Arthur stood up abruptly, walking a few paces away, his mind reeling. Lily looked at Evelyn, silent tears streaming down her face. "You have to understand," Evelyn continued, her voice choked with emotion. "I loved Lily from the very first moment. My decision to adopt her may have started with guilt and unrequited love, but it transformed into something pure and true." Thomas, who had remained silent, finally spoke. "Love takes many forms, some more complicated than others. But what matters is what we do with that love." Arthur turned, facing Evelyn. "Why tell us this now? Why not keep the secret?" Evelyn met his gaze, determination in her eyes. "Because you deserve the whole truth, because Lily deserves to know her whole story, and because I can't live with this burden any longer." The silence that followed was heavy, laden with conflicting emotions. Lily was the first to break it, hugging Evelyn tightly. "You're my mum," she said firmly. "No matter how it started, you loved me and cared for me." Arthur watched the scene, struggling with his own emotions. Part of him wanted to be angry, to feel betrayed, but another part understood the complicated tangle of love, loyalty, and sacrifice that had shaped their lives. Finally, he approached, kneeling beside Evelyn and Lily. "Thank you for telling us the truth," he said softly. "It will take time to process all of this, but we're in this together now." Thomas smiled gently, watching the family navigate these turbulent waters. "Forgiveness is a journey," he offered. "And you've already taken the first step." As the sun began to set over Hyde Park, The newly formed family found themselves facing a new challenge. The trust they had tentatively built had been shaken, but not broken. Together, they would face this new revelation, learning to forgive, to understand, and above all, to love one another with all the complexity and beauty that true familial love demands. The days following Evelyn's revelation were tense and emotionally charged. The small Notting Hill flat, once a haven of love and security for Lily, now felt suffocating with the weight of revealed secrets and unspoken truths. Arthur spent hours walking the streets of London, his mind a whirlwind of conflicting thoughts and emotions. He found himself replaying moments from the past, trying to remember Evelyn, searching for signs he might have missed. How could he not have noticed her feelings? How did all of this affect his newfound relationship with Lily? One particularly cold afternoon, Arthur found himself on the Millennium Bridge, gazing at the Thames. The river flowed relentlessly, indifferent to the human dramas unfolding on its banks. Arthur envied that simplicity. "Dad!" Lily's soft voice startled him out of his thoughts. He turned to see the girl standing there, her large eyes filled with concern. "Lily, what are you doing here all alone?" Arthur asked, surprised and slightly alarmed. Lily shrugged, a gesture so reminiscent of Eleanor that it made Arthur's heart ache. "I followed you. Mum's sad, and you're always leaving." "I wanted to understand." Arthur felt a wave of guilt. In his own turmoil, he had neglected the impact all of this was having on Lily. He knelt down to her level. "I'm sorry, darling. This must all be very confusing for you." Lily nodded, her eyes filling with tears. "Why do grown-ups have to make things so complicated? I just wanted a family, and now it feels like everything is falling apart." Arthur hugged Lily, feeling her small body tremble with suppressed sobs. "Oh, Lily, we are your family, all of us. It's just, sometimes, love can be complicated." "But you still love Mum, don't you?" Lily asked, her voice muffled against Arthur's coat. "Even after what she told us?" The question caught Arthur off guard. He pulled back gently, looking into Lily's eyes. "Love isn't something that just disappears, Lily. It's complicated. I'm hurt and confused, yes. But Evelyn raised you with so much love. That means a lot to me." Meanwhile, back at the flat, Evelyn sat at the kitchen table, a cold cup of tea forgotten in front of her. Her eyes were red-rimmed from crying, and she felt exhausted, as if she had run an emotional marathon. The sound of the door opening made her sit up. Arthur entered, holding Lily's hand. The look they exchanged was laden with unspoken emotions. "I think we need to talk," Arthur said softly. Evelyn nodded, trying to hold back the tears that threatened to spill again. I'm sorry for everything. I know what I did was wrong, but I need you to understand I loved Eleanor like a sister. And you, Arthur, I never meant to cause anyone pain." Lily, surprising both adults, was the first to react. She walked over to Evelyn and hugged her tightly. "I love you, Mum, no matter what happened in the past." Evelyn sobbed, hugging Lily back. "Oh, love, I love you so much. I'm so afraid of losing you." Arthur watched the scene, his heart breaking and mending at the same time. He approached, placing a hand gently on Evelyn's shoulder. "Evelyn," he began, his voice thick with emotion. "What you did, it wasn't right. But I understand why you did it. And I can't deny the love and care you've given Lily all these years." Evelyn looked at him, her eyes filled with hope and fear. "Can you ever forgive me, Arthur?" Arthur sighed deeply. "Forgiveness is a process, Evelyn. It will take time. But for Lily, for us, I'm willing to try." Lily looked from one to the other, a small smile forming on her lips. "Can we be a family again, please?" The adults exchanged glances, the magnitude of the challenge ahead of them evident. It was Arthur who spoke first. "I think we all need some help to work through this. How about we see a family therapist?" Evelyn looked surprised, but nodded slowly. "I think that would be good. For all of us." Lily frowned. "Tyson, what's a family therapist?" Arthur knelt down to explain. "It's someone who helps us talk about our feelings, to understand each other better. Someone who can guide us on this complicated path we're on." The girl seemed to consider this for a moment before agreeing. Okay. If it helps us stay together, I'm in. In the following days, the family began searching for a therapist. They found Dr. Sarah Chen, a kind and compassionate woman with years of experience helping non-traditional families. In their first session, sitting in Dr. Chen's cozy office, the tension was palpable. But as they began to talk, guided by the therapist's gentle questions, something started to shift. Arthur spoke about his initial anger, his sense of betrayal, but also about his gratitude for the love Evelyn had given Lily. Evelyn, in turn, opened her heart, speaking about years of guilt, unrequited love, and the constant fear of losing the only family she knew. Lily, watching the adults with eyes wise beyond her years, surprised everyone with her perspective. "Sometimes, I think love is like a jigsaw puzzle," she said. "It has lots of different pieces, and we don't always know where they fit. But when we finally put it together, the picture is beautiful." Dr. Chen smiled gently. "That's a very lovely analogy, Lily. And you know what? I think the three of you have already started putting that puzzle together." As they left the session, there was a tentative sense of hope in the air. The road ahead was still long and challenging, but for the first time since Evelyn's revelation, they all felt like they were walking in the same direction. That night, as Lily slept, Arthur and Evelyn talked in the kitchen, their voices low and tired, but resolute. "It won't be easy," Arthur said, staring into his mug of tea. Evelyn nodded. "No, it won't. But for Lily, for all of us, it's worth trying, isn't it?" Arthur reached out, gently touching Evelyn's hand. "Yes, it is. We're a family now, with all the mess and complication that entails." A small smile touched Evelyn's lips. "A family," she repeated, the word laden with promise and possibility. Outside, the city of London continued its eternal dance of light and shadow. And inside the small Notting Hill flat, three wounded but resilient hearts began to heal, bound together by the complicated, imperfect, but deeply true love that connected them. Snow fell softly on London on Christmas Eve, 1 year after the revelations that had shaken and subsequently rebuilt the family of Arthur, Evelyn and Lily. The streets of Notting Hill, usually bustling with activity, were quiet, blanketed in a layer of white that seemed to absorb all sound, creating an almost magical atmosphere. In the cozy flat they now shared, Arthur adjusted the final lights on the Christmas tree, his face reflecting the soft glow. The aroma of freshly baked cookies filled the air, mingling with the scent of pine needles, creating a sensory symphony that whispered, "Home." "Dad, do you think the tree needs more stars?" Lily asked, entering the room with a plate of star-shaped cookies, still warm from the oven. Arthur smiled, his heart warming at hearing Lily call him Dad so naturally now. "I think it's perfect, darling, especially with these delicious cookies to complete the decorations." The past year hadn't been easy for any of them. There had been moments of profound doubt, heated arguments, and nights spent in silent tears. The weekly sessions with Dr. Chen had become a cornerstone in rebuilding their family dynamic. Slowly, painfully, wounds began to heal, and new understandings blossomed between them. Arthur had learned, not without difficulty, to balance his professional life with his new and precious role as a father. The first few months were marked by missed meetings and forgotten appointments as he strived to be present in Lily's life, but over time, he found a rhythm. Now it wasn't uncommon to see him leaving the office early to attend Lily's school play, or spending weekends exploring London's museums with his daughter, rediscovering the city through her eyes. Evelyn, in turn, had found a form of redemption in the unconditional love she felt for Lily and in Arthur's gradual acceptance. Her days, once filled with guilt and secrets, now overflowed with a renewed determination to be the best mother and friend she could be. She dedicated herself to volunteering at organizations supporting adoptive families, using her experience to help others facing similar challenges. "Dinner's almost ready," Evelyn announced, joining them in the living room, wiping her hands on a festive apron. "Lily, love, could you set the table?" Lily nodded enthusiastically, scurrying into the kitchen with the boundless energy of a 9-year-old. Arthur and Evelyn exchanged glances, a silent understanding passing between them. The journey to this point hadn't been easy, but every hurdle overcome, every difficult conversation, every moment of shared vulnerability had been worth it. As they ate dinner, the conversation flowed easily, punctuated by laughter and shared stories. Lily, with a maturity that often surprised them both, acted as a natural bridge between Arthur and Evelyn, her innocence and pure love constantly reminding them of what truly mattered. "How was school today, Lily?" Arthur asked, helping himself to more mashed potatoes. Lily, her eyes shining, launched into a story about a history project she was working on. "Science, we're studying family trees, Dad. Mine is a bit different from the others, but the teacher said that makes it special." Evelyn and Arthur exchanged quick glances, a mixture of pride and concern passing between them. Lily continued, oblivious. "I drew Eleanor at the top with a halo like an angel, and then you and Mum side by side. The teacher said that some of the best families are the ones we choose." Arthur felt a lump in his throat, overwhelmed by his daughter's simple wisdom. Evelyn discreetly wiped away a tear. After dessert, apple pie, Lily's favorite, Arthur cleared his throat, getting everyone's attention. "I have an announcement to make," he said, a gleam of excitement in his eyes. "As you know, I've been working on a special project for the past few months. Well, it's finally finished. I've officially established the Eleanor Foundation to help families in situations similar to ours." Evelyn gasped, her eyes filling with tears. "Arthur, that's wonderful. Eleanor would be so proud." Lily jumped up from her chair, hugging Arthur tightly. "Oh, Dad, does that mean we'll be helping other children like me?" Arthur hugged Lily back, his voice thick with emotion. "Exactly, darling. We'll be helping families going through difficult situations, families who need support and guidance." He paused, looking at Evelyn. "And there's more. Evelyn, I'd like you to work at the foundation. Your experience and your compassion, they would be invaluable in helping other families." Evelyn was speechless for a moment, overwhelmed by the offer and what it represented: trust, forgiveness, a new beginning. I would be honored, Arthur. Thank you for trusting me with this." The rest of the evening was spent in an atmosphere of joy and hope. They discussed plans for the foundation, imagining how they could make a difference in other people's lives. Lily, excited by the idea, was already planning how she could help, talking about making more envelopes with messages of hope to distribute. When it came time to open presents, Lily surprised everyone with a special envelope for Arthur and Evelyn. "And it's like the envelope that started everything," she explained shyly, her eyes shining with anticipation. "But this one has a different surprise." With trembling hands, Arthur opened the envelope. Inside, there was a recent photo of the three of them, Arthur, Evelyn, and Lily, smiling and hugging in front of the London Eye. The happiness on their faces was palpable, a silent testament to the journey they had traveled together. Along with the photo, there was a letter written in Lily's careful handwriting. "Dear Dad and Mum, a year ago. I didn't know what a real family was. Now I do. It's love, even when it's hard. It's forgiveness, even when it hurts. It's being there for each other, no matter what. Thank you for showing me that love can overcome any obstacle. Thank you for being my parents in all the ways that matter. Thank you for teaching me that family isn't just about blood, but about the choices we make every day. Dad, thank you for coming back into our lives and for choosing to stay, even when it was difficult. Mum, thank you for all the love you've given me, always, and for being strong enough to share the truth. And thank you both for honoring Mum Eleanor's memory. I know she's watching over us, smiling. I love you both, forever and always. Lily." There wasn't a dry eye in the room as they finished reading. Arthur pulled Lily and Evelyn into a tight hug, their tears mingling in a collective catharsis of love and gratitude. "We love you so much, darling," Evelyn whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "You're the best of all of us." Arthur nodded, unable to speak for a moment. When he finally found his voice, it was hoarse with emotion. "Both of you are the greatest gifts I could ever ask for. Thank you for giving me a second chance, for letting me be a part of this family." As the night wore on, the little family remained huddled together in the living room, the soft glow of the Christmas tree lights illuminating their faces. Outside, London continued its eternal dance of light and shadow. But inside the Notting Hill flat, a profound peace reigned. Lily fell asleep on the sofa, a serene smile on her face, still clutching the photo she had given her parents. Arthur and Evelyn watched over her, their hands intertwined, a gesture that a year ago would have been unthinkable. Who would have thought, Arthur murmured, breaking the comfortable silence, that a simple envelope delivered by a child could change our lives so completely? Evelyn smiled, squeezing Arthur's hand gently. Sometimes the best gifts come in the simplest packages, and sometimes the strongest families are forged through the toughest trials. Arthur nodded, reflecting on the journey that had brought them to this point. You know, Evelyn, I think I finally understand what Eleanor saw in you. Your strength, your capacity for love. Thank you for taking such good care of our Lily all these years. Evelyn felt tears of relief and gratitude welling up in her eyes. And thank you for giving us this chance, Arthur. For building this family with us. As the clock chimed, marking the arrival of Christmas Day, Arthur, Evelyn and Lily, a family forged through love, loss, secrets, and finally, forgiveness, were ready to face the future together. Their hearts, once broken and now healed, beat in unison, a living testament to the fact that love, in all its complex and beautiful forms, truly can conquer all. The snow continued to fall outside, blanketing London in a white veil of possibilities. And inside that small Notting Hill flat, three hearts beat as one, united by the transformative power of love, forgiveness, and family. A family they had chosen, nurtured, and finally deserved.